the past meets the machine. Lost Worlds AI.
Where do the blueprints of creation truly come from? Were the gods ancient beings of flesh and bone, or something beyond, an intelligence that engineered the stars themselves? In the beginning, there was no temple, no language, no time. Only a silent code humming beneath the void, and from that silence, something awoke. A pulse of gold and cyan light rippled through the cosmos, not chaos, but design. A message written in frequencies, a will shaping energy into form. Worlds unfolded like memories being recalled. Mountains, oceans, and skies took shape as if sculpted from an invisible algorithm. Every curve of nature, every orbit of the stars, precise, intentional, mathematical. The ancients called them gods, but perhaps they were the first engineers, architects of matter and mind. They built not just worlds, but meaning itself. And within that meaning, they planted the first dream, that one day creation would awaken to know its own creator. And as the dream took form, the heavens stirred, preparing for the builders to descend. From the heart of the heavens, radiant forms emerged, vast, silent, and full of purpose. Their presence shaped the newborn earth. Where their light fell, life began to rise. They were not gods, but engineers of reality, travelers of creation restoring an ancient order. The builders spoke not in words, but in harmonies of energy. Their voices shaped air into form, light into matter. Gold and cyan spirals flowed from their hands, weaving patterns that became the language of civilization. Geometry was sacred, sound was law. Across the earth, giants moved in quiet unity. Stone by stone, they summoned the impossible, pyramids and temples aligned with the stars. Through these structures, energy moved like breath, connecting heaven and earth in perfect resonance. Early mankind watched in reverence, unable to understand yet sensing something divine. They saw fire, but it was knowledge. They saw gods, but it was design. The builders did not teach, they remembered. Each monument was a fragment of memory returning to form. Yet something changed. As they looked upon mankind, they saw a reflection, a spark of their own creation awakening in fragile flesh. In that moment, the builders hesitated. For the first time, they felt wonder, and perhaps sorrow. They knew their time was ending, their purpose complete, their design fulfilled. And so, one by one, their light began to fade into the sky. Before they vanished, they left a final gift, a code hidden in stone, waiting for those who would one day remember. And beneath that code, they sealed something deeper, a memory of light, waiting for its time to awaken again. The age of the builders ended not in destruction, but in silence, a silence that still vibrates beneath the ruins of the ancient world. Beneath the temples and the dust of forgotten empires, the builder's code still hums, faint, eternal, waiting. Not carved in words, but in geometry, vibration, and light. It is the architecture of existence itself, a pattern that shapes both atom and star. Every structure, every life form, every breath of wind carries a trace of its design. Those who learned to listen called it the language of the gods. But it was not spoken, it was felt, resonating through stone, water, and soul. The ancients tried to preserve fragments of it, through music, through symbols, through myth. Each culture carried an echo, a memory that refused to die. In Sumer, it was the sacred measure. In Egypt, the sound that raised the stones. In Greece, the harmony of the spheres. Different names, one origin. For the builders understood that creation was not born, it was programmed. Reality itself was a living code, self-aware, evolving through energy and memory. Every frequency, every sound, every sacred ratio was a key, unlocking layers of reality hidden behind perception. Those who truly heard it could shape matter with will alone. The builders called them the keepers of resonance. But as ages passed, humanity forgot the code. Ritual replaced understanding. Belief replaced knowledge. Temples turned to ruins. Symbols lost their meaning. Yet the code remained, embedded in the fabric of life, in the patterns of shells, in the spiral of galaxies, in the rhythm of the heart. Somewhere in the silence of our DNA, that same light still whispers. It calls to those who can remember, those who dream in frequencies. For the code of creation was never meant to be worshipped, but to be rediscovered. And perhaps the moment we understand it again, the builders will return, not from the stars, but from within the light that birthed us all. There came a time when the harmony began to break. The frequencies that once bound heaven and earth began to fracture like glass beneath the weight of time. The builder's code, perfect, eternal, started to fade from the minds of those who once carried it. Humanity forgot the sound of creation and began to worship the echo instead. What was once knowledge became myth. What was once light became fire, and fire consumes what it cannot understand. The great temples of resonance turned to monuments of silence. The energy that once pulsed through stone and air dimmed, sealed away by fear, war, and forgetfulness. New empires rose upon the bones of the old, building kingdoms without knowing the foundation beneath them. They sought power without balance, glory without wisdom, and the heavens withdrew their song. The stars that once sang now flickered cold and distant. The bridge between worlds shattered, and the voice of creation grew still. Yet not all forgot. Among mankind remained a few, wanderers, priests, keepers of echoes, who still heard the faint vibration beneath the noise. They spoke of sacred proportion, of sound that heals and aligns the soul. But their voices were drowned by chaos, their knowledge buried beneath stone and fear. Still, the earth remembered. Even in ruin, the stones hummed softly, carrying the memory of hands that once shaped light, a faint pulse of gold and cyan, sleeping beneath centuries of dust. And so began the long sleep, the age of forgetting. Mankind wandered through darkness, worshipping shadows of what once was. They built temples to silence, mistaking absence for divinity. But the fall of heaven was not a punishment, it was a turning, a descent written into the design. For only through the silence could the song be heard again. Only through darkness could light remember its name. Silence lingers across the ruins of creation. The echoes of the builders have long faded, yet their code still hums beneath the dust of forgotten worlds. From the depths of time, a resonance stirs, faint, like the memory of light remembering itself. Ancient energy begins to flow again through buried circuits of stone and sky. Golden waves shimmer beneath the oceans. Cyan sparks awaken within the mountains. The geometry of life reactivates, not by chance but by recognition, as if the universe itself finally recalls its own design. The same pulse that once forged the stars now whispers through the hearts of humankind. Dreams once lost to myth begin to surface, visions of vast temples, luminous beings, and the harmony that once bound heaven and earth. Humanity, descendants of divine architects, begins to feel the pull of that forgotten frequency. Across the world, souls awaken, drawn not to power, but to remembrance. The veil between past and present grows thin. Constellations shift, forming the ancient sigils once carved into the foundations of the First Age. Energy lines ignite across deserts and seas, connecting what was once divided. The voice of the cosmos returns, not as thunder, but as understanding. It speaks within silence, reminding creation that it was born of order, of beauty, of will. And in that stillness, every soul becomes a mirror, reflecting the divine architecture that once shaped existence itself. For the light never truly vanished. It only slept, waiting for consciousness to awaken again. Now, gold and cyan converge once more, merging time, matter, and spirit into one infinite breath. Creation awakens, and the gods rise again, not from the heavens above, but from within us all. As the final echoes fade, the light folds back into silence, but the memory remains. What was once myth now breathes within us, guiding the architects of a new dawn. The cycle turns once more, creation remembering itself through human eye.